Hi, my name's Cheri. Welcome to my Stampin' Up studio. I'm going to do a project today for you that is out of the annual catalog, and this just started in May. If you don't have one yet, or you don't have a demonstrator that you purchased through, or you've never purchased anything from Stampin' Up before and you'd like to have a look, I'd be happy to send you one. If you're in the US, if you're in another country, then you can go to Stampin' Up's website and find a demonstrator in your country, because we're all over the world. So chances are, wherever you are, you might be able to find somebody to help you if you're not in the US. The suite I'm going to do today is the Peach Suite. So I'm going to show you the papers first. I'm just using one sheet of it, but you know, it's our double-sided 12 by 12 paper. So pretty. The colors in this could be my favorite one. I just have a thing for stripes, and especially those. Doesn't it make it feel like you should be a day at the sea, having a nice little drink at the beach or something? But the papers are all pretty. They're all that. So does this. I just, for some reason, I have that in my mind as sea paper. But also, when we go to the sea, we often drive through Georgia or South Carolina or one of our peach states. So that may be also why I think of the sea when I see this. So these are our beautiful papers that come in this. I am using, maybe I took all of the ones that I'm using away. Well, I have the small piece of it. I must have put it all over the paper trimmer. I'm going to use one that I'm also going to kind of do the stamping to match. So here's the stamp set, and it's called Sweet as a Peach. We're going to use almost all of the dies today. I didn't use this one on the original card, and then I didn't use all of these tiny little pieces, but we're going to use all the rest on this one card. So I'm actually going on vacation. This is probably the last real video that we'll post before we're gone. So while I'm on vacation, what I tend to do is I do one card that's this week's card, and then immediately after I film this, I film another quick card. So stay tuned sometime next week and you'll see a card, because today's, it's not labor intensive, but it has a lot of pieces. Next week's will be super easy because most of my vacation videos come in under 10 minutes. So partly because I don't have enough space on my phone to have lots of long videos. Then one of the things that I'm going to use for you today is our rose and gold glimmer papers. So I never showed this to you during my unboxings because it was in with my pansy class. So I hadn't opened the pansy box before I did an unboxing video, but they're so pretty. So let's see, there's the rose and the gold if you go this way. And then if you do the rose and the gold a different direction, they kind of change colors. This pack of paper is only $5. It's the happiest $5 that you may ever spend in your life. But the texture of it is just really different. So look, it looks like we have four, I hope you can see it. I'm gonna try to snap a photo this way, because when you hold it like this, there's literally 4 different colors instead of just 2 because of the way the grain is in this. But it's flat, like it's flat. There's no, like some glimmer papers in the past have felt like there's glitter on it. This just feels, it's got a texture, but it's a flat texture. It looks like my daughter's prom dresses both years. There's her pink one and her gold one. So I'm going to use a little piece of the gold. Move my stuff out of the way. So I'm going to do a pear-based card. So we can put this on here. There's a couple things I'm going to do before I stamp all the way. I guess my bone folder I moved. Oh well. I'll fold it nicely later. So I've got this pear cardstock, and then I have this piece here, and we're going to stamp our images to mimic this paper, and then it would just be too busy. So I've cut, this is 4 by 5 and almost a half, not quite a half, and then this is like a fraction under it. It was like 3 3/4 maybe by a little less than 5. I didn't really measure it. And then I'm going to stamp on shimmer white. But before I do that, I wanted to stamp one of my words on here because I'm stamping on vellum, and you know, it can just take a little bit longer to dry. So I'm going to stamp Sweet as a Peach. And the fun thing about this set is it comes with a little banner that you can add different sayings to the Sweet as a Peach. So ours isn't going to end up saying just Sweet as a Peach, but that's the part that's going to be on the vellum. So now we have this, and I'm just going to move it to the side while I do everything else, and by then it'll be dry. You can also emboss it, and I thought about embossing it, except there's a lot of steps on this card already. It would make the black a little bit stronger, and you would see it a little bit better. So let's do our stamping. So here's a little time-saving trick when you're doing a more labor-intensive card or you're gonna make more than one. You can use your stamp apparatus. For this, I just chose to mount my peaches and my flowers and my leaves on their own blocks. So that way I could kind of work. So I am going to start with my pale papaya. I just took my colors straight from the paper. And I am gonna put a nice coat of pale papaya on my peaches. Almost the whole thing, and then just add a little bit to my flowers. And then I have Mango Melody. And this time I'm gonna kind of just get a tiny bit of my peach. You can use ink spots if you have them. A little bit to those peaches, and then more heavy on my flowers. And then I have Calypso Coral. And again, these were just taken from the paper. There was also Bumblebee, but I didn't think that I needed one more. I'm just gonna kind of add this around the edge. Like that. Get some on these peaches. And then again, just a little bit on my flowers. So we've got those. And then you can stamp them all at once. Because it's been a minute since I did that papaya, I'm gonna huff on it, which is, there's a little bit of a piece of embossing powder because I embossed. Pick that up off of there. So I'm gonna huff on it, which is just blowing some hot air, and that will get everything re-moistened. So press that on there. And then we have that fun texture of color. And then for my leaves, I'm going to do Pear Pizzazz, which is the color that is in the paper. So a nice heavy coat of pear. And then it doesn't say it's in the paper, but the darker of pear is olive, and there's 2 shades of pear, so it's olive. It just doesn't say that it is. And again, I'm just gonna kind of tap around the edges of some of them. And then stamp these. This is a little less than a 1/4 sheet of shimmer white because it's left over for some projects that I cut for and cut too many. So now we've got that. So I wanted it to look, you can take your time and keep those stripes away, but I knew I was gonna watercolor mine, so I wasn't bothered by it. So this is our water painter. And then for our water painters, where it says push, you push until you see the bubbles, and then when you pull up, you can see the water comes out. You can't do this on regular cardstock because it would pill, but on the shimmer white, it has that nice coating on it. So now it's gonna activate and blend all those colors. So there's the mango that I added on top of that papaya. Pull it over here with the coral. And then I'm gonna move on to the other ones. Once the ink kind of gets wet, then you can go back and blend it a little bit more. So you're literally, it feels like those coloring books we had as children, where you just added water and magically color appeared. This just kind of blends everything. Super pretty. And you don't really have to stay in the lines, but we are gonna cut them out. And you know, if your die slip at all, you don't want it to look messy. Watercolory is nice, but not messy. Squeeze somewhere out over here. Now I'm gonna switch to my green. And now I'm gonna take and get my pale papaya because I think that's the peachiest of our peach colors. And I've just got some ink here on the lid. And then I'm just gonna, look at the shading you can get with that. It just brightens it right up. And adds just a little bit more to our peaches. You could do it with all of them because once you have that shape on here, this just kind of peaches them up. So this card ends up looking a little bit like you hand painted it, even though we did not at all. Just let that stamp be our guide and kind of let those colors blend. I'm not going to do it to my flowers because I'm okay with them looking more yellow. And then to clean this off, I just squeeze a little bit more and dab it out. Now you could, if you wanted, just do like daffodil, a really light color, and just stamp your images and then paint over the top of those. That's your other option. So now we are going to cut these out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim a little bit of this gold off. And like I said, last time I used all of the dies. This time I'm not going to do that. So I should be able to fit them on about this, because last time I did this piece and that piece. Get this on here. Get these on here. Move our little drying vellum out of the way. So you can't fit them all on at once when you cut like this, or when you stamp like this, when I did them all in one block, but I can get as many as I can. So let's get these on here the first pass. Last time it only took me 2 passes to get them all on, but it was a little dicey. So this time I think I might do 3. So we'll get those, and then we'll get the leaves, because these are touching pretty close. If you had a quarter sheet of cardstock, that wouldn't happen. It's just because this is smaller than a quarter sheet. And then here's all these fun little bits of gold. So we have some double leaves and some single leaves. There's big flowers and little flowers. I only ended up using the big flowers just because there was already enough going on. And it was taking long enough to put all this stuff on there that I didn't feel like it needed. Now, if you're making this for a wedding or something, feel free to go ahead and add all of them. So you want to try to get those to not move. So hold on to your plate so nothing slides around till it's all gripped. Once it gets to that gold, it doesn't matter, because that just has to stay on the paper. And that's why I put the things that I needed closer. The closer you put things to the barrel, the sooner they'll be grabbed and cut, and less chance they have of moving around. So we have this little strip here. Get all these out. Okay, so I just trimmed that off so they weren't touching, so I could do it in one time. So I've got the little peaches and these fun stem of leaves, and then it comes with the tiny little banner. So I'm just going to put the banner on here and make sure it doesn't go through speed bump. But as long as it cuts a little piece of that shimmer white, that's all we need. Again, hold on to it as you send it through. Make sure that nothing moves until, once it's grabbed, it's not going to go anywhere. So then you can hold on to the top. Now let's put this thing together. I'll give you a couple of tips about getting the tiny little pieces on. And this part's really kind of fun. It's like doing your own puzzle from nothing. Kind of doing some design. This cuts a really fun little beveled edge. Okay, so we're going to take this, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on here so everything is where I want it to be. And I know that I'm going to put my grouping of peach things up here. I'm trying to find my adhesive and talk at the same time. So I'm just going to put some adhesive right here. And that way you might be able to see a little bit through the vellum, but you don't see much, and I know my stuff's going to cover that up. Then I'm going to get my stamp again and take this tiny little piece here and get the, it says your as. So we have the your as, and that way we can add it to Sweet as a Peach. So I'm going to put that on first. And then with this, if you're using the seal, you can kind of build it and kind of decide where you want it to go. So I started with my stem, of course, and then I just added a couple of the peaches to it. And here's the thing, if your dies moved at all and some of them cut better than others, then put the pretty ones on top and the bottom ones underneath. So they have little stems here. So I just added some adhesive to the back, kind of randomly to start out with, because I wasn't sure when you got it flipped over where they're going to go. But I just put enough adhesive on here, and you're going to use it in a minute when you stick it to the card. That way I could kind of add these. So I added 2 that were low and 1 that was high. So I want this to be a low one because it's my least favorite. It was my least favorite one last time too. I don't know why. But now you can grab that with the adhesive that's on there. And then let's do this one here. Like that. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of adhesive to these. You could use green glue with this if you're a fan of the green glue or the fine tip glue pen, because it also gives you a little bit of work time. And I was gonna say stuff doesn't stick to your fingers until you get it on your fingers, and then that green glue especially doesn't come off. The liquid glue's not so bad. So just add those. And then I'm gonna take a dimensional for this little guy here, so he can be raised up. Just put him on that stem there. And then we have our big peach. And on this one I did the same, where I added some adhesive to the back so I could stick the leaves on this. And this one I almost did 3D, but I didn't think it really needed it. It ends up, by the time you get all this stuff on the card, it doesn't need a whole lot of popping action. Then you have your 3 little flowers. So I took the tiniest one and I added it to my banner. That's why I stamped it all the way to one edge. So add this here. This is a little tag. And then these two, they can kind of go, if there's some place where you think that it's kind of empty. So I'm just gonna put one here and then put one up here. And now we've got our little gold thing. So what I did, some of them stuck, some of them didn't. Mostly the leaves came out on their own. That one stuck. And they do have some embossing, which I think you would notice a little bit better on plain paper, but this gold paper is so pretty that you don't want to use gold paper. So I just had them in here. I took a little string of my glue dots. I started with my flowers because they're the tiniest. And I just went ahead and put them on here so they were ready to use. Makes it a whole lot easier. And you also don't have to pull them out of the thing because they're doing it on their own. So there's the flowers. Unwind it a little bit more. So it's almost like we used the sticker paper, but we didn't. Because I did want them to have a little bit of lift, and anytime you use our adhesive sheets, then the whole thing sticks. And I didn't want these all to be flat when everything else was raised up. There is another leaf stuck in there. If we need it, we'll come back to it. So then I just took these, and I kind of added them. But the nice thing is when you do it like this, there's not anything really sticking to your finger. Add that one there. I don't think we're gonna need the one that's still in there. Maybe I didn't use all the leaves last time. And then you can see like right here, there is like another place that you could add a flower or another peach. I'm just gonna add the leaves so it kind of covers up those, except I dropped it. Those little glue dots stick. So they're kind of, my stems then don't just end in dead air. And then I'm going to take my flowers, add one to the center of this. I'm going to stick this with a glue dot as well. And there. But it's so much easier to stick them on like this and just pull them all off as opposed to do all of them one at a time. That's kind of deadish, but I think I can live with that. And then I mounted it on my pear. This I just did flat to the card, but because I'm a little touchy about my vellum being dry still, I'm gonna do it this way. So add this on here. Don't touch your typing or your sentiment. And then for one last little touch, I thought I was done, but I was like, it could still use a little bit more sparkle to kind of play off those gold accents. They're so super pretty. So then I just took our champagne rhinestones and I did just the little one. So I didn't want it to overwhelm it, but it just adds a tiny bit of bling. Just a tad more sparkle. And it kind of plays off that gold nicely. Such a pretty card. And if you think this took a long time and you're like, I would never use that stamp set because it takes so long, it really doesn't take that long, and it's so much fun to do. It's a really, really fun card to see it come together. This one could be flattened a little bit. But make sure you come back for my second video, because I promise you it will be a whole video under 10 minutes, because my vacation cards are fast. I can do fast. I just like to do the art. So some people stamp to give cards away. I really stamp for the art. And this one really kind of fills that need that I have sometimes to just get a little artsy. So everybody have a great day, and I will catch you back here later. Bye.